So eventually, um, I wound up dating a Purdue rugby player, um, Scott Zeman, and wound up getting season tickets to home games at Purdue for Purdue football games. I'm not a huge football fan, but it just was a very fun, positive outlet. And the tickets weren't super expensive, and a lot of people I knew went to those games. So it was just super fun to be in like the student section, and I was able to like yell and scream, and like that was kind of a party for me. For me, that was like my idea of a party, being able to be loud and kind of being a little immature and obnoxious and just, celebrating anything positive was a party to me. So that was a lot of fun. That was more my sophomore year, and Caleb eventually wound up at Indiana Wesleyan. He seemed to do really well there. He was still dating Erin, and he was doing. He became the captain of the basketball team over there, and they seemed to embrace him, and it seemed like he was on a really good path for himself. And I was just very happy to hear that. I had heard stories that he was doing much better, and I was glad that he had found a good fit for himself. And my classes, I was studying landscape architecture, so my classes were kind of grueling. They weren't they weren't super challenging in terms of like academically. They weren't out of reach for me. They just consumed a lot of my time. And like I'm not into biology, but like once I figured out how to study for biology at Purdue, I got a great grade. I mean, that was no problem. At first it was hard because it was a weed out class, and like there was no instruction. You just kind of here's a ton of information, sort of figure it out, So once I figured that out, I was fine. The classes weren't above me. It just, took a lot of studying, which I had not done in high school. So I wasn't used to that. So to use my mind that way was different, but it was fine. I didn't mind it. So I wound up going to Philadelphia for an internship. Scott had graduated, and that relationship just, he's not the marrying type, is what that came down to. We wound up, I met his family, he met mine. We spent a lot of time together in college, and our lives just were going in different directions. And I'm much more of a spiritual and religious, most people would think, person. And he just wasn't. He had roots in Catholicism in his family, but he didn't embrace any of that. And marriage was just not something that he was at all interested in. And, we had talked about it several times. We'd even taken a trip to Chicago before he graduated college and everything. And he did a really good internship in Indianapolis, was doing great, was a straight A accountant student at Purdue. And he just, unfortunately, we just went in different directions. So we broke up, and I continued to work and whatnot. And